Well, there are three major topics that I'm going to roll into one today, and and then I'll explain them. Number one, you, in essence, are essentially, I said in the last video that you are embryonic gods. So let me elaborate a little further on that, that in fact you are well, at least most of you, are gods. The other thing is intuition, is what I wanted to cover on. And I think the last thing is that, and the last thing may be first. At least I feel like that's the way it should be right now. And that is, what I teach is not meant for normal, everyday people. It's not meant for, well, it's meant for everyone if you have spent your lifetime studying spirituality and all that kind of stuff. But what I mean by that is most people are never going to understand what I talk about without a lifetime of spiritual studies. Wow. I don't feel like I'm doing this very good justice at all. So let me try this again a little differently. You're going to be on your own if you were to follow what I'm teaching. And this is why you should spend the major part of your lifetime in a religion or in a faith or in a study group or under some sort of organized religion or whatever. You should actually do that until you get to the point where this is just not for you. You feel it. You feel the intuition is telling you in your heart and soul and everything that it's time to move on. Now, most people never get there because most people never put the 100% effort into whatever it is they're doing. In other words, their lifetime is politics, let's say, or maybe they are some sort of an electrical engineer or scientist or doctor or lawyer or whatever it is. And then that is the major focus of their life. Whereas other people, their major focus is spiritual studies. Now that doesn't mean they're not a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist or an engineer or auto mechanic or, whatever it is they do in their life, they're doing that to be able to earn a living so that they can survive in this world another day, to be able to spend in their evening times or in their free time studying spirituality. That's the person that I am talking to. I'm not talking to the other person. Now, there's nothing wrong with the other person that doesn't really give a damn about spirituality, because nobody knows what is in their heart and souls or whatever. They may have many more lifetimes before they wake up their spirituality and start thinking that there's something more to reality than just this. And so it's not a good idea to condemn people that may someday end up being your best friend in all eternity and everything. So it's best not to judge people, even though they may appear to be detestable people or whatever. I mean, there's a certain concept in Christianity called repentance, where They can alter the path that they were going on. And they were maybe going on that path out of ignorance, out of peer pressure, out of whatever the reason may be. But at some point along the way, they go, you know what? I'm not really satisfied with my life. I'm not really happy with the things I've done in the past, etc., etc., etc. They have the ability through the repentance or the atonement of Jesus, the Christ, or whatever. I mean, there's so many different faiths and religions and that teach this type of concept, that you can alter and change paths. And so it's best not to judge these people. But on the other hand, if they're not in your flock, so to say, well, just let them be and then move on. So when I say that I'm not here teaching the masses and that I'm only here to teach respectively in a very, 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 very small number of people on this planet, it isn't because I have any disrespect for the billions of other people. It's just that most people are not ready for this sort of stuff. And whether they ever are ready for it, who knows? I don't know. I think one of the reasons, and it is one of the reasons I teach this, is because I myself remember years ago, it's a real lonely feeling to have love in your heart and soul, and at the same time feel incredibly lonely in this world, because it's like I am sure there are some people watching this video that'll be able to relate to me, both men and women, that will think, you know, in their heart and soul, they might be filled with love. And they've gone through so many maybe different religions or faiths, or maybe they've only gone through one. And they really get really deep into it, you know, and it's like years and years and years go by. And eventually they become more and more lonely, the more spiritually inclined they become. And yet their love only intensifies. And the more their love intensifies, the lonelier they get. And they start thinking, it's like they're at a complete loss as to what direction to go, because they might seek friendship from the leadership of a particular religion or faith or church or whatever. They might seek out it's like they just want to hug the leadership of that particular church or organization. And they might even do it because they are just so intensified with love and everything. And the leader or the person shuns them, and it's like, what the hell are you doing? Get away from me, you weirdo. And then they're like, it's like they're just at a loss. Some people, I suspect, become suicidal if they haven't built their spiritual base to be commensurate with their love. They might feel so lonely that it's like they just don't want to live anymore. So that's the person I'm talking to. That's the person that I want to tell you, you have a friend in the world. It's me. Because I love you, and I understand that you love, and that sometimes that love can seem misguided because you don't know where to place it. Meaning, it's like love is an outward thing. It's not necessarily an inward thing. I mean, yeah, I know that scriptures and blah, blah, blah say to love yourself. Well, okay, so you're a narcissist. But, there's no way, from an enlightened point of view, there is no way to love yourself unless you know yourself. And if you know yourself and you know what and who you are, and you are loved by God, and that you know that that you are valued by the deities that created all reality, and you know this for sure because you've either had a vision of it or whatever, then how in the world can you love yourself without falling into the category of being a narcissist? And under that stipulation, it really isn't love. It's not that at all. It's the cessation of love for anything else in the reality. So when they say to love yourself, you damn well better recognize what and who you are before you're able to love yourself. And prior to that, you have to actually love God and love others before you can love yourself, because really in the sequential way things work, it's like you would love God first, and then you find out why God created everything, and then you find out why this and why that, and what's the purpose of other people, and then you find out, oh, well, I love other people because I love God, and I found this out. And then last of all, you love yourself, because then you find out what you are, so to say. That's kind of how it goes. If it goes the other direction, you're never going to find what I'm talking about. I would say I got off the track here, but I don't think so. I'm following I'm following the exact plan that I said, which is intuition. I'm following intuition here. What is intuition? Well, you can't follow intuition if you don't know what it is. You know how they say, well, you have a third eye. You know, a lot of times they put a bindi or whatever the hell they call it, the red dot there. I mean, that's just, honestly, it's just some crazy thing that people do because they think it has something to do with opening their third eye, when in reality it's absolutely nothing. It's just another ridiculous ritual that people do. Again, I sound like I'm downtrodden it, but you know what? I'm sorry. I don't mean to disrespect that sort of thing. But the bottom line is, it's just a ritual. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything. In fact, it's anti-do anything. It's just silly. But there is such a thing. I mean, you remember Jesus saying, you have eyes. These people have eyes and they can't see. They have ears and they cannot hear, etc., etc. Well, in fact, you do have a spiritual third eye. And in fact, you do have spiritual ears that people do not use. Because they're not used to using it. So intuition is the utilization of your third eye and your ears and stuff that is open to spiritual things that are not readily visible to the human senses. And so consequently, I'm going to give you my own personal experience. This is not going to be, most people are not going to be able to do what I did. And the reason is because most people, their human body was developed in the womb or whatever the case may be, and they might be more intellectually advanced than myself, or maybe that's not really the right word either, but I grew up and I still have dyslexia. And at 68 years old, when I was young and in school, they didn't know they had no clue what it was. It was it was really crazy when I was in school, because the principal or the teachers or whatever, they didn't know what the hell to make of me, because I was in band and I played the trumpet and I got A+ in band, and physical fitness I got A+, and all different sorts of things I excelled incredibly well at. But then English, I got an F. I mean, it's like when I was like I think it was the 3rd or 4th grade, they actually flunked me. They flunked me. They held me back a year. And of course, that greatly affects you when you're that young. You think you're retarded or something. Like, why did I flunk and everybody else passed? And that was a terrifying thing for some, I don't know how old I was, 10 years old, 9 years old, or whatever the case may be. But it's a direct result of my dyslexia and they didn't know why. Why is this kid getting an F in English? Well, I'll tell you why I'm getting an F in English, because the damn letters and everything are jumping all over the fucking page and you can't read, and words are backwards and upside down, and you can't tell the difference between a B and a D and this and that and everything else. And it's like, you have to train yourself to be able to read and stuff like that. You have to train your brain how to interpret all this mess. And it's a very difficult thing to do. In fact, I didn't train myself how to read properly until I was in my 20s. I forced myself through school. And but now, what is the point, and why did I say that in regards to intuition? Because it plays a valuable role for me personally that most people are not going to be able to experience in their life. But if you listen to me, maybe that will give you the faith to move forward with intuition and stuff, rather than thinking, well, I'm never going to experience. So, getting back to my own abilities. So I happened to be a member of the Mormon Church when I was young and growing up, and as such, when you're a young adult, meaning I was in my 20s, and I was going to church, and when I say in my 20s, I don't know, 22, 23, 24, 25 years old. And they like to, in that particular church, they like to really kind of force you actually to do things like public speaking, or being in charge of a baptismal situation, or having you speak in front of 150 people. Do you know how difficult it is for a human being to speak in front of a group of 150 people when you're having a difficult time trying to read because you can't read what you wrote because the words are, and you feel like a frickin' idiot because, everybody else is so much smarter than you. And it's like, how the heck am I going to do this? Well, most human beings would just say, no, I ain't gonna do that. Oh, Brother John Arness, we would like to have you go in front of the congregation in 2 weeks and give a talk. And there's going to be 150 people there, and we'd like to have you give a talk about blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you're terrified. It's like, no. I mean, as a grown adult, meaning you're in your 20s, the normal response is no. Not only no, but hell no. It's never going to happen. Not in a million, billion, trillion years. It ain't going to happen. I'm not going to embarrass myself. I'm not going to speak in front because I'm terrified, blah, blah, blah. It ain't going to happen. Well, for me personally, because of my faith and since I was a little child, I assumed that this was coming directly from God. And it's like, well, how do you turn God down? It's like, I mean, honestly, I'd rather have a heart attack and drop dead before I go up and give this talk. That's how I felt, at least. And I'm not lying to you. That's how I felt. So those of you that can relate to what I'm saying, kudos to you. But anyways, I didn't want to do this. Oh, boy, did I not want to do this. And so, but I felt like this is what God wants me to do. And it's like, well, I can't turn God down. So I thought, well, okay, fine. I'll make an absolute fool of myself. And honestly, the first few times that this happened, I did kind of make a fool of myself. Of course, the people were kind enough to not laugh at me or whatever when I flubbed up and stuff like that. But fast forward, another decade or whatever, the same scenario takes place. And it's like, I would pray, I would study, I did everything to try to prepare for giving a talk or when I would teach in a large group of people or whatever. Well, this is a guy, me, look at me. I'm a guy that gets F's. That's failure. Like the teacher doesn't want to give an F. I mean, they got to go like, oh my God. Did you even try, John? Yeah, it seemed like you tried harder than anyone in the entire class. But gee, gonna have to give you an F because, you are really stupid. Well, that is me. That is me. That is the guy that got an F. And I got to go up and give this talk. And I prepare. Thinking, well, I finally got to the point where I go, you know what? I don't know why they want me to do this, but maybe it's beneficial to someone out there. But you know what? I got to the point where I'm not going to take responsibility for the failure. I'm not going to take responsibility. I didn't create this physical body. This physical body is not me. The human being here that you see that has dyslexia, that ain't me. I don't have dyslexia. It's this crazy ass body and brain and however it works. That's what has dyslexia. So you know what? If I screw up and I make a fool of myself and I can't get the message across, you know what? I blame you, God, because you created this thing. I didn't have anything to do with it. I'm just utilizing the tool that you gave me, God, and I'm doing the best I can. If I succeed wonderfully, that's you. If I fail, that's you. All I can do is the best I do. So I listen to intuition. And I follow that third eye and everything else. The bottom line, to make the story kind of cut it to the end, I had people coming up, shaking my hand afterwards, going, I have never heard a talk like that in my entire life. And I have been here for 60 years or whatever. The message that you gave was spectacular. Never heard anybody ever like that. Well, a normal person would pat themselves on the back and go, yeah, I'm a good guy, man. I am smart. I really know what the hell I'm doing. But I knew different. I knew that this is the body that gets F's. So I didn't take the credit for doing a good job. I gave it to God because, you know what? Success or failure isn't me, it's God. And if for any reason, anything that I teach that comes across to you as being, wow, that's pretty insightful or inspirational, or it makes sense, or I like what he says, or whatever. Don't think for 1 minute it is me. It is not. It is God. And you are in direct communication via me, so to say, to God. If you think what I'm saying has any value and it's really great, it's because you're listening to intuition. It isn't you're listening to me. You're listening to intuition, that third eye, that thing that is invisible to most people in the world. Because there are people that will listen to me and shrug their shoulders and go, oh, what a stupid idiot. This guy doesn't know anything or whatever. But another person might go, wow, that is just fantastic and off the charts. The difference is one person is listening with their ears and their eyes that are spiritual, and the other person is listening with their physical eyes and ears. So that inspiration is something that, in other words, because of my early conditioning with dyslexia and et cetera, I felt very no confidence in doing like what I'm doing right now. No confidence whatsoever. But I followed this inspiration that says, John, you better do this. Somebody needs this. I don't know who needs this, but somebody needs it. And as broken as you are, you had better do the best you can and move forward. So I listened to that inspiration and I move forward. But where do I get that inspiration? Well, it isn't from books. It isn't from anything else. It's directly from God. So that's kind of what inspiration is. And that's intuition, following your intuition. Now, what happens is you get better and better and better. Or let's say intuition, like when you follow it, results happen and it may be like, wow, I surely didn't expect that. And again and again and again, that sort of thing happens. And then you start to go, you know what? I think I'm going to listen to intuition more often because it seems to lead me in the right direction. A lot of times it may seem like it's leading you in the right direction and it's a complete, utter failure and everything. But then years down the road, you realize, actually, it wasn't a failure. It was actually the most crucial thing that I should have done, and I actually did do it. So again, you're following something that isn't apparent to most people in the world. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about is I'm teaching, what I teach isn't an organized religion, faith, or whatever. If you were to follow what I teach, if you were to follow, I don't even like to say the word follow, if you inculcate, if it makes sense to you, if you continue on this path where that I'm on, for instance, you will end up the Lone Ranger. You will not have any foundation to stand upon other than an invisible foundation that no one else in the world can see. And of course, that foundation is God. But you're not going to have a foundation to stand upon. It's based upon love. And you're never going to get there without the true love of God, the true love of yourself, the true love of your essence that emanates out to other people. You're going to be on your own. For instance, you see gurus all the time, and these gurus will have pictures on the wall. Well, this guru died 20 years ago, and he's my guru, and that guru had another one, and they trace it back a couple hundred years or thousands of years or whatever. And, the same thing holds true in Christianity. They go, well, blah, 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 and back to Jesus. And it's always this lineage. And if it's not that, then they have their PhDs hanging on the wall. Well, I've got a PhD in spiritual studies, blah, 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 blah. There's always some sort of a foundation that these people stand on, or shall I say it's their crutch. When you are on the path that I'm on and you become closer to God, the higher you go on that path, the lower you go in your power and authority. Let's say you got to the end of the road where you are God enlightened, that you are spiritually Buddha enlightened, that you have become one with God. At that particular point, you have been reduced to no power, no authority. You got no crowns of power upon your head or anything else. You are nothing. You have reduced yourself down to the level of nothing. Why do I say that? Because the power of God, the creator of this reality, is based in love. Love has no power, no authority. Love is shall I say, Does does God or Jesus or what Krishna or whatever, do these people have power and authority to me personally? And I would say, yeah. I mean, like they are the epitome of power and authority. But do they exercise it in any way? No. No, they don't. So the only power and authority they have, I give to them because I love them and they love me. And that's how it works. But in this particular realm, this particular world, that's not the way it works. And most people, shall I say, go to church and do their religious studies and everything based upon, wow, I can't wait till I have more power, more authority, and people worship me. And, they get off on this, people sitting at their feet and kissing their shoes and giving praise to them and all of this kind of stuff. This is what motivates them to do what they do. That person doesn't have a freaking clue what the hell I'm talking about. That person is driving towards the god of this world, Satan, Shiva, which actually these people do have power and authority. It's just like our governments, our world governments. They have massive power and authority. When they say to somebody, well, you got to get all your guns and stuff, and you got to go to this other country and you got to blow the shit out of them and kill everyone and take the leader and kill him and cut their heads off. Well, that's exactly what happens. See, I got great power and authority. Well, religions are no different in a sense, where they order people around, and it's like, well, why should I listen to you? Well, you got to listen to me because I'm high up on the ranking of power and authority. So what I'm telling you is, why would you be drawn to me, for instance? I have no church, I have no foundation, I have no authority. And in fact, I'm telling you, if you follow me, you will be just like me, and you'll have no power or authority. And people might ridicule you, and you're going to be lonely and not have an organization that loves you or whatever. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. And so if power and authority appeals to you, well, actually some of the stuff I teach, a person could take it on, because a lot of this stuff isn't written in books or anything. And they can use it for evil and satanic purposes, because they can go to organized churches, or they can go to sanghas and everything and run circles around the authorities or teachers and everything, and baffle the hell out of them, because they're ignorant fools compared to what you would be if you understood everything I know, if you become enlightened and everything. But if you do that, of course, you're devolving down to the level of Satan and hell and everything. But you will get power and authority if you do that, if that's what you're after. That's not what I'm after. I love you. I love God. I love, there's no room in me for hate anymore. I mean, I'm a human being. I mean, don't get me wrong. On a normal day, something go wrong and it's like, the son of a bitch. And then, of course, I instantly go, oh, that was not right for me to do. But nobody's telling me that's not right to do. I'm telling myself. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the last thing I'm going to talk about. You are God. You are a God. What in the hell does that mean, and why am I saying that? Well, if you've been following me, and if you think about the way normally how things work, in the way Christianity teaches, and on and on and on, there's like, you're going uphill. You're getting smarter, you're getting more intelligent, and life after life after life, you're getting better and better and better. And now you're here as a physical human being on planet Earth. And it's like, okay, what am I here to learn? I gotta really study spirituality and blah, 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 blah. Not the case. You're not getting smarter. You're not getting better here on this particular Earth. You're already a God. Again, I'm only talking to the rare few that understand what the heck I'm talking about in this particular world. Most people have so many lifetimes to go or whatever. They may not be a God already, who knows? But there are people that are already gods. Well, then why are they here as physical human beings? You know, Jesus said you're all gods. And of course, the scriptures and people try to downplay that and act like, oh, well, he didn't mean you're all gods. He was just quoting old scripture and everything. No, he didn't. He meant you're all gods, okay? But so then why? Why are we here on this planet Earth? What's the point and purpose? What are we doing here if we're not getting smarter and more intelligent? Well, it's like you've gone to medical school and you've succeeded in everything, and now you're being tested if you're going to succeed as a doctor. What are you going to do with everything you've learned? Are you going to use it to become wealthy? I became a doctor so I could be rich. Or are you going to use it so you can become like some of the doctors in this world that use that to create viruses that kill billions of people? I mean, what the heck are you going to do? So as a God, what are you going to do here? Because you're just like everyone else. You're a feeble human being that is here on planet Earth, and you know intuition is telling you. It's kind of like in the back of your head or whatever, and spiritual. It's like it emanates out, and what it's telling you is you're something more than what you appear to be. Yeah, of course you are. You're a God. But what in the world are you doing here on planet Earth? Are you using that massive, massive, massive knowledge and wisdom and godliness to become rich so that you can be powerful and you can have all the wonderful things that this world provides for you like a greedy bastard? Are you becoming a military individual or a politician so you can lord over people? What is it you're doing? Because when you're done with your life here, meaning multiple lifetimes, if you've used your God power and authority and knowledge and wisdom to benefit yourself instead of benefiting others through your love and everything, do you really think you're going to end up being one with God? Of course not. Of course not. There's no place for being a God unless you want to be a God like Satan. If that's what you want to be, then have at it. I mean, this is where you prove what you are. This is like, in Christianity, Jesus talks about judgment day or judgment or whatever. Well, yeah, there is a judgment. Think about this. There's this physical body, my physical body. And how difficult is it to operate this physical body? I mean, how difficult is it to operate a freaking remote control or a cell phone or whatever? And then I make this body do artwork, and I do welding, and I do all sorts of things. I've taught it how to be a professional firefighter and how to operate cameras and everything. I mean, can you imagine what it takes to do all of that stuff and to cause my fingers to go up and down and hands to go up and around and learn languages and all? I mean, it takes a God to be able to do all of these things. And of course, science would have you believe that it's just DNA and enzymes and synaptics in your brain and all of this stuff that's doing that. But that isn't the case at all. It is you, your essence. When I say your essence, they talk about a spirit. Well, you're not a spirit either. A spirit is just like a spirit is, well, a soul. Let's put it that way. A soul is more. It's sort of like your human body, but it's a spiritual, subtle essence, or I'm mixing up words here. It's another form for your essence to habitate, to be able to function in the astral plane and in the spiritual realms that are not here. It allows you to function there, just like a physical body allows you to function on this physical plane. And the physical body is being animated by the soul, which is another type of body, but it isn't physical. But when you dig back down deeper and deeper and deeper, you get to what is actually forming everything. Well, of course, according to the people that are non-dual, they would say, well, God is the animator of all things, but that isn't true at all. God is the animator of all of reality, but not the essences, because God is not the creator of your essence. There is no creator of your essence. You are the animator of your essence, and if you have love in your heart and soul, or you have love in your essence, you are being driven forward to become one with God. If you have in your essence the nature of wanting to be powerful and stuff, then you are utilizing the reality created by God to develop yourself to become one with Satan and to be like Shiva, because you're already a god. You're already a god. You may end up being more powerful than Shiva if once this kalpa is over. Yeah. So I thought this was going to go a little helter-skelter and stuff, but I think the last thing I wanted to talk about, and this wasn't even in part of it, but I wanted to bring it up because they had the Queen of England just die a few weeks ago. And I wanted to bring that up because that is an important lesson to learn. You know, you got all the pomp and all the rituals and millions and millions of people involved in parades and everything else, and this massive respect and everything. That is what is done in this world to enforce this belief system of power and authority and stuff. And it's like, in all reality, what did this queen do that would garner such love and devotion and respect? Nothing. Nothing. They say, well, she served the people for 70 years. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? 70 years of service? The only person she served was nobody. She served Satan. She served herself. I mean, she lived in a billion-dollar mansion, castles with carriages made out of gold, and spent a lifetime ignoring God or ignoring what would help the world, but would just solidify the power and authority of the rule or the leadership that she had. Does that make her an evil person? No, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she's just an ignorant fool that grew up in a situation where she didn't know what else to do. And she might be a wonderful person, but she sure the hell didn't serve anyone other than herself and the God of this world. I mean, the evidence is there. To think otherwise, you are an absolute ignorant fool that is brainwashed by this world of pomp and authority and all that other crap that, you know, if that's what you desire, all that power and authority, then quit listening to me, because you don't get that from God. You get that from the God of this world, but not the God of love that I'm talking about. So all that pomp and all that stuff and her funeral and everything, that is designed to reinforce, you know, to brainwash people into this aura of respect and everything, which continues the cycle for generations and generations and generations of repression, if you will, spiritual repression, financial repression, everything you can think of repression is what that's all about. And it's the same thing with religions. It's the same thing. All this great power and this authority and everything. It's designed to dazzle your eyes and your senses and to fool you into thinking, oh, wow, I'm attracted to that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, why would you be attracted to me? I have nothing. I have absolutely nothing in this world to give you other than the knowledge and wisdom that God has given me, and to tell you I do love you. I really, really do love you. I know that both men and women who might be watching this, that at some point in time, if we become one with God, we will be like hugging each other. We will be in love with each other for all time and all eternity. And we don't have to worry about what this world thinks of idiots that want to hug each other and they love each other, because that facade will be gone. But if that's what you're after, then you're not going to be able to rest upon a solid foundation that the world offers. So I think one other thing I wanted to say, I'm sorry, I keep coming up with things. It's like you are your brain, your mind, and everything. And I tell you, really, you should join an ashram. Really, you should join a religion or a faith, or you should spend decades doing that. And the reason I say that is because it's like if you take a computer and you don't put any software in it, it's an idiot. It really is an inanimate idiot that is incapable of doing anything. And that is exactly what you are. You're like a computer, whatever, and unless you fill it with software, meaning learn everything you can learn in this world, learn mathematics and geology and philosophy, and learn spirituality, and learn what the different religions have to offer, and learn, and absorb all of this, because when you love God, and when you exercise faith, and if you ever become enlightened and everything, then you are a functioning computer with all of this software that has been added to it, and you have such vast capabilities because you have all of this knowledge and wisdom. You know, there are certain examples of monks, if you will, that you've heard stories. You know, it's like somebody in India is a monk or whatever, and they just sequester themselves to a mountain cave or whatever. Are they enlightened? Yeah, they certainly are enlightened, probably. But what good is it? Because they didn't fill their computer with all that the world has to offer. So what do they do with this enlightenment? They sit in a cave. Are they good, loving people? Yeah, probably. But what can they do? They can't do anything, because now that they become enlightened, they don't feel comfortable going anywhere else to join a church or a religion, because they'll be ostracized and outcast because they're not going to agree with the philosophies or the teachings or whatever. So they sequester themselves to a cave. I'm telling you, or advising you, or admonishing you, gather everything you can in the world before you become enlightened. And then you're like a computer with a massive amount of software. Who knows what your capabilities are of expanding what you already have to the world through your love, through your enlightenment? What can you do? Because if you were to gather 1 million people to yourself as a spiritual individual that isn't based in power or authority, what is that going to do? It's just helping other people to become one with God. You're helping people to become individualized. That's a good thing. That shows that you want to become one with God. And furthermore, I think it's kind of fun. I think it's kind of fun to be able to go out in my shop and use my welders and woodworking tools and all the things that I do to create art. I think it's fun to be able to explore all the abilities of the electronics of cameras and software and all the stuff that goes along. It's fun, it's exciting, it keeps your physical human brain active. After you become enlightened, and it's soothing. It's like, at the same time, it is so soothing that, and what is so soothing? Enlightenment is so soothing. It is like, it's like, well, I don't know if there's a way to define it, because I know what I feel, but I don't know if you've ever felt it. It's like the story I keep saying about a lemon, you know, how tart it is, or how, well, unless you've never tasted a lemon, there's no way to convey that massive exploding, I don't even know if it's sour, I don't know what you want to call it, but you know what I mean. Well, you can't convey that to another human being unless they actually eat the lemon themselves. And that's what I'm saying about enlightenment. It's the exact same thing. It's like, I can tell you what it is, kind of, but no matter what I tell you, they're just words. It's like there's no way to convey it. But what I will say is 100% of the time, in my sleeping hours even, it is like a soothing, like you're not here. It's like I'm looking at a fan on the ceiling, and it's like, I see this physical world, but it's like I'm seeing it through the eyes of this physical body that I know I'm not. And it's not like I know I'm not because I read books that tell you it is that way. I'm telling you I know it's not because I'm not even here. It's just a bizarre, and those are wacky words. If you were saying them to a doctor or whatever, they'd lock you up for being insane or something. Because, what? You're not here? What are you talking about? You're crazy. You need to be locked up. But that's what I'm saying. It's so, and it's soothing. It's a, I mean, I'm not on drugs or anything, but it's like you're on LSD or DMT or whatever it is. It's like you're on it, but you're completely 100% drug-free and conscious. And it's like, and you're experiencing reality, and it's much, much, much more bizarre and enjoyable than if you were on DMT or LSD. And why? Because when you're on those particular entheogens, your physical body is incapable of being articulated. It's, in other words, you can't really interact with the world. All you can do is observe it, so to say. You're sitting there and it's like, wow, this is really cool, you know. But you really can't do anything. But when you are enlightened, you are completely conscious, aware, and you can articulate your body and your mind. But at the same time, you're observing a reality that is like, I'm not here. There's no way in the world I'm here. This is, I mean, I know what here is, and it's not possible for me to be here. But at the same time, I can see what's going on and observe it, and it is frickin' weird. And the only thing in this physical reality that is real is you, your essence, you. That is the only thing that's real. And that's why I love you. Because when I say I love you, I'm not talking about your physical body or your brain or intellect or anything else. I'm looking at your soul, your essence of what you are, and I love you. And I hope that you can see that and experience it for yourself someday. It is fascinating beyond belief. And with that, I think I shall shut her down for today, and I hope some of this makes sense to you. Anyways, I hope you have a good day.